doesn't mean they're not gonna be here.
We good?
We're good.
All right, call to order. The way we're gonna work here, we've got two public hearings at the onset here. I'm gonna call each one of those public hearings. I'm gonna ask Garrett to give a slight synopsis of the issue that's in the public hearing, and then anyone that wishes to come forward to tell us anything about that public hearing can do so by coming to the podium, giving us your name, and then telling us what you want to tell us. Once we deal with the first public hearing and no one else wants to talk, I'll close that public hearing. We'll go to the second, do the same thing over again, close it out, then we'll go into our regular meeting. During the regular meeting, a part of that will be discussion of the matters that came before us in the public hearing. And at that point, the commission will talk about what it wants to do. So we'll go to the public hearing. That's PZ item 17-06, public hearing concerning an application to amend the official zoning map of the city of Republic, Missouri by changing the classification of property located at 412 U.S. Highway 60 West from medium density single-family residential, that's R1M, to local commercial C1. Garrett?
The public hearing pertaining to this particular application concerns a proposal to rezone 412 U.S. Highway 60 West from medium density single-family residential district, which would permit, of course, single-family residential land uses and home occupations that are also permitted within that zoning district, to the local commercial zoning district, which would by right permit any use that is listed as a permitted use by law in that zoning district. A list of those permitted uses is included in everyone's packet this evening.
Does anyone wish to speak on this hearing?
Good evening. I'm Aaron Lyons. I represent the applicant, property owner in this matter, and we believe that C1 zoning is perhaps the best use for this property. I think it's appropriate. It is, as you know, located right on Highway 60, and I think it's a natural fit with the surrounding area. In that area, there's I think a Dollar General store and a dog grooming, perhaps adjacent or just right down the street, insurance office, law office, and across the street and to the east there is a church and then the large retail shopping center that has, I drove by to kind of count, I think I counted 23 units there. And according to the staff recommendation, it appears that the city's adopted land use plan, this would be consistent with that, stating that it would be appropriate for low commercial type land use, and we certainly concur with that, and so that is why we are asking for this property to be rezoned to C1. Be happy to answer any questions, and we appreciate your time.
Commission may have some when we start discussing it, so if you'd hang around,
of course,
we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Gentleman in the back there.
My name's Mike McCroskey. I work for the owner that owns the property. We have a rental house there now. We bought, I don't know, about 5 years ago. It's got a concrete block basement under it. It's always wet, and we had it for a rental, and we just decided it'd be better to, we don't want to rent it anymore to people, you know, because it's damp and stays damp. We can't dry it out. We got a sump in there, but every time it rains, it's just always damp and moist, and so we're not going to try to, we don't want to fix it up and try to keep renting it because we can't do anything with the basement, you know. I mean, so that's kind of why we wanted to maybe just, we're going to let the people that live there now stay as long as they want. We don't have anybody wanting to buy it or anything like that, but as soon as they move out, that's going to be the last one to go in there because we don't want to put anybody under any, you know, problems like that, you know, dampness and moisture, mildew, you know, so that's one reason we're wanting to do this.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak on this issue? Not seeing anybody running up to the podium. We'll close that hearing. We'll go to the second hearing. PZ item 17-07, public hearing concerning an application to amend the official zoning map of the City of Republic, Missouri by changing the classification of property located at 5976 West Farm Road 164 from agricultural AG to light industrial M1. Garrett?
The application relating to this particular public hearing proposes to rezone approximately 1.8 acres of a much larger tract from the current zoning, which is agricultural, to the light industrial zoning district. Presently, it could be used for single-family residential purposes or any other permitted agricultural use that's permitted by the municipal code. If the rezone is successful, they will be allowed to use that 1.88 acres for anything that is permitted in the light industrial use by code, and a list of those permitted uses is included in your packet.
Does anyone wish to speak on this?
Good evening. My name is Terry McConnell. I am the owner of Central Gas Propane. I am wanting to switch that from AG to M1 because I'm wanting to put a bulk propane tank there. It was 60,000 gallons. We will use that for the transports will come in there and fill that tank. I've got 4 bobtails now that operate around Republic, Springfield, Nixa, Ozark, and we're just trying to put a facility in right there. My father's the one now that owns that land that is all M1 that we're trying to switch over, and then we'll have that tank there. First off, we're going to move into it and just have the tank. There won't be a retail facility there. Years down the road, we may look to try to move our office from Nixa to Republic. That's a goal that I have, to then have our retail location there to where we could, continue to service the people on bottle refills and things like that they may have in the future. But as of right now, once we put the tank in, it's just going to be for the first year to 2 years, depending on how it all goes. It'll just be bobtails going in and out of there. Frequency would be a few times a day probably. And I'm going to stick around if you have any questions after this. I would love to answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? You 2 men want to speak? No? It's not, we appreciate you coming to watch. I'm going to close that hearing now. No one wishes to go else to speak. We'll go into our regular meetings this time. First item of business is the approval of the minutes of May 8, 2017 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve those meetings.
Thank you, George. Your second?
Either one. I'll do it or you can do it. All right, I'll second
Don't
it.
fight over it. Ken Sawyer. All right, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion on the motion? Would you call the roll?
Commissioner Ellis,
I'll have to abstain. I wasn't here.
Commissioner Dixon,
Aye.
Commissioner North,
Aye.
Commissioner Rosser,
Aye.
Commissioner Sawyer,
Aye.
That's it. Passes. Next item of business, citizen participation. Anyone that wishes to speak to us on any matter other than, frankly, what the public hearings were about, feel free to come forward now. Now's your chance, boy. All right, we'll move to, there's no old business. We'll move to new business. PZ item 17-06, discussion and possible vote concerning the application to amend the official zoning map of the City of Republic, Missouri by changing the classification of property located at 412 U.S. Highway 60 West from medium-density single-family residential to local commercial. Gentlemen?
So it's my understanding by what he said, at the present time, there's no proposal to put anything there. They're just changing the zoning, and then when at the time when the people move out of the house, then they will see if somebody buys it or whatever. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. Whatever use is in place right
Right.
now would remain grandfathered until such time that they abandon it.
So anything that's in the list there can go, it could always go in once we approve it, but there's really nothing there's no blueprint of anything going in at the present time.
There's nothing that keeps them from taking those people out of there, too.
Right.
been any opposition to it?
There's not been any expressed to me. Karen, have you taken any phone calls on this particular case? No, I don't believe there's been any, we haven't received any input either way, to my knowledge. I'll just cover a few other items, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
In terms of how staff has looked at this particular case. Clearly, from a transportation perspective, the site is well suited for commercial use, having frontage on US Highway 60, despite given the current arrangement of the lot, and I don't know what MoDOT's perspective may be on ingress egress, but even if the access had to be from West Avenue, there are no objections from staff to that, given how close it is to US Highway 60. The site currently has immediate access to water and sanitary sewer. The capacities of both of those utilities are such that it could support local commercial development. And as was mentioned in the testimony at the public hearing, the rezone is consistent with what the current future land use plan recommends for this area. And so all those things taken together, staff is recommending approval.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval, PZ item 17-06, changing the classification of the property located at 412 US Highway 60 west from medium density single family residential R1M to local commercial C1.
I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Jim, any discussion on the motion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner Dixon,
Aye.
Commissioner North,
Aye.
Commissioner Rustler,
Aye.
Commissioner Sawyer,
Aye.
Thank you all for your input to us. We'll go to the next item, PZ item 17-07, discussion and possible vote concerning an application to amend the official zoning map for the city of Republic, Missouri by changing the classification of property located at 5976 West Farm Road 164 from agricultural to light industrial. Garrett?
For this particular site, as I mentioned, this is just a small portion of what is a larger tract of land. It's just 1.8 acres that will be rezoned to the light industrial district if this application is successful. The remainder of the tract will remain within the agricultural zoning district. With regard to staff's analysis, the transportation situation here is such that it is likely that most of the traffic to the site will from US Highway 60, which is an expressway and a primary thoroughfare, obviously appropriate for either commercial or industrial traffic. However, Farm Road 164 is, although it's classified as a collector in the system, it's currently just unimproved farm road. When I say unimproved, it doesn't mean that the farm road is somehow questionable. It's just that it doesn't meet the current city standards. How staff views the transportation system is like this. Currently, MoDOT is, as you've probably seen, traveling up and down US Highway 60, making improvements to all the intersections like this one that are at bad angles. They'll be adding turning lanes to allow for deceleration in advance of the turn. That will add us what will be a significant increase in safety at the particular intersection. So that's a plus. Given its proximity to the highway, it's not a long distance that commercial or industrial traffic would have to travel from the primary arterial to get to the site. And given the size and scale of what's being asked to be rezoned, only the 1.8 acres, it's staff's determination that it would not be likely that it would generate enough traffic to warrant any sort of hazard. So,
Let me ask a question. That intersection, is it being improved by MoDOT for
It is.
turning?
yes.
Would accommodate the kind of trucks that we're talking about here? Because you're talking about, I think you said, right now you're running bobtails in, but you intend to go to a straight, larger propane truck?
Right now, how it works is the transport trucks, which are the semis with the trailers behind them, the transport, like the fuel haulers, they come into their sites now, and they'll offload into that tank, and then we'll come in our bobtails, which is a straight truck, which is, they're 32 foot long, and do that. And to speak of the size and how all that works right now, that's what I currently have one in Fair Play that's 1 acre, and then I currently have one in Nixa that is on less than, it's about a half an acre.
Where I was headed
Okay.
was not really your property, but
Okay.
but the access off the highway, and I've been driven 60 highway for 30 years that I've lived here. There's times when people try and drive really big tractor trailer trucks and they try and turn, and all of a sudden you run up on the back of them. I just making sure that we had a proper kind of thing, because we obviously don't want to create a hazard.
True.
I believe that the improved MoDOT's making there will help in that situation, even with the turning movements that you're talking about. It's difficult to predict those types of situations, but as I said, given the volume that we expect could be generated from 1.8 acres, staff didn't have a major concern in that, but it is something at least to mention on that unimproved farm road. From a land use perspective, it's surrounded primarily by other agricultural and residential uses. To the south and to the east, to the west and north are other industrial and commercial uses primarily. The future land use plan that is current recommends that this site is appropriate for light industrial land use. And then with regard to municipal utilities, the site has immediate access to sanitary sewer, but does not enjoy immediate access to water. The city does not currently have any plans or programmed funds to improve the water at this particular location, which has the effect of, if development is going to occur, if the rezone is successful, the water extension, the cost to do will be borne by the developer in this case. So all of those things taken together, staff is recommending approval of this application.
How often are you bringing the semis in for the offload, do you think?
It would probably be at max 2 a week.
2 a week, okay.
Yeah, it's nothing. And also right beside that is JLA, where they're running 6 or 7 semis out of there every day. And that is also the main thoroughfare to the power plant.
Right.
And I would say they're running, I wouldn't know what to say they're running. They're running, a couple a day, a few every other day, something like that.
Always the big problem is, if they're coming from the east to the west, and they're having to cross over there, that's the most dangerous. But if they're coming from Republic area that way, it's real simple. They just ride off there.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but on the hazmat loads, when they're bringing them, they tell them how they have to come in. So they will have to come from Double M and 60 going east.
Okay.
And that's the way they'll have to come in. They can't use that intersection to come across.
Yeah, because that would be where I could see the danger at. The other one, I don't, because they're putting that turn lane in there, I don't think it'd be a problem on that. All right, you want to do it?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of PZ item 17-07, changing the classification of property located at 5976 West Farm Road 164 from agricultural AG to light industrial M1.
Okay, good. Yes, sir. Any discussion on the motion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Ellis,
Aye.
Commissioner Dixon,
Aye.
Commissioner North,
Aye.
Commissioner Rossler,
Aye.
Commissioner Sawyer.
Item carries. I hear any other motions?
To adjourn.
Second.
That's a good motion. I think we got it. I think I heard everybody vote for it.
Right.
We did. Aye.
Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you guys very much.
Appreciate